Watchdog comes to you compliments Western Union, the fastest way to send and receive money worldwide. And furniture for Watchdog provided by Hubbard's. Good evening. Welcome to Watchdog. On our program this evening we have with us a lady who's been in the news and in the limelight quite a lot recently, Miss Judy Benoit, the Supervisor of Elections. Of course, as always, Andrew. Lady, gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to Watchdog.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Now, there has been a lot of talk about the electoral process, the registration of voters, a lot of talk. Miss Benoit is here and she'll be telling us all about it when we come back from the break.
Owning a vehicle is a big investment. That's why care and regular maintenance is of high importance. At Hubbard's Motor Department, our experienced and qualified technicians will provide the recommended care and maintenance, ensuring your vehicle is in excellent working condition. Visit Hubbard's Motor Department in Mungay, St. George. We'll do the rest. Hubbard's. Quality service, affordable pricing.
It's the end of the month again. My son's rent is due.
Sending money to your children studying overseas is easy. Western Union's safe and reliable service lets you transfer money everywhere in the world.
My son is doing well at school. That makes me proud.
Western Union, moving money for better.
Chillaxing with Glenelg Spring Water.
Coming to Hubbard's, Thursday, September 27th.
Why this brownie tastes so tasty? What's in it? I'd like to know. How you cook this chicken curry? Tell me why it tasty so.
Barren sauces is the answer. Barren flavor all the while. Barren makes your food taste better. Garlic sauce, Chinese stir fry, West Indian hot sauce, it's a winner. Passion fruit sauce, tasting great. When your friends come round for dinner, your food's so good they can hardly wait. Barren makes your food delicious. Barren makes food tasty.
Unlimited talk, $75. Talk unlimited to over 50 destinations. Unlimited talk to all local landlines. Landline to mobile, 45 cents. Sign up now.
Watch Talk Clip.
We now return to Watchdog with Godfrey.
Welcome back, and as I said before the break, we have with us Miss Judy Benoit, the Supervisor of Elections. Miss Benoit, you've been, or your name has been called so much in recent times, in all different ways, and mostly relating to some of the problems, well, the so-called problems that has been faced now with the registration of voters. Where are we now, as of to date?
Okay. Well, first of all, it's something I've been wondering all the time, and you said it as in your opening statement. Problems, or so-called problems, and you know, to this day no one has pointed out to me what the problems are, and I'm always wondering, what are the problems? Problem number one, problem number two, problem number three, and if we know that, then we could probably try to work towards fixing it. But so far I have not seen any real problems. I know, for example, as you ask, where are we? We are in the registration process. The enumeration is over. That ended on July 8th. Everything went well. Now, in terms of how many people were enumerated, that's a matter of who we were able to reach. Remembering too that there are people who refused to be enumerated, and that's not something we could do about. It's not anything we have control over. You can coerce them, you can visit them 3-4 times, and if they decide they don't want you in the yard, we only could make a note and say this person was visited and refused. We have a form that takes care of that. So the number of persons who may not have been enumerated might not be our problem.
As you mentioned that, did any one of your enumerators experience that kind of
yes, many of them. There are those who experienced being thrown cold water at, those who were put down the hill by a goat. There were those who had bad dogs let go on them and had to, run for their lives. Those who were...
What kind of numbers are we talking about?
Well,
rough numbers or percentage, if you have any idea?
Our target, in terms of the eligible voters, on average, 60,000. We were able to enumerate 51,900 and something.
Oh, so but you've done very well.
Exactly. That's why I'm asking what exactly are the problems. Thank you very much. 900 and yes, 51 plus.
So and most people who, in your opinion, are eligible to vote
have been enumerated. Right. And even in the registration, because remember registration is continuous. We have never stopped registration. And up to yesterday, with the addition of the people who came out and that extended day, we would have registered 43,000 plus. And we are going after the others. And in fact, that was one of the reasons for having the extended day, to capture those people who normally can't make the 5 o'clock deadline every day, and to sort of boost the thrust in getting people to come and get registered.
You did that effort, I think you said on the news, in St. David's.
We did it throughout the island.
You did it throughout the island. So that St. David's was a special case, and I heard you commending the work.
But also St. Patrick, I know we
did all of the constituency offices. What happened in St. David's is a large constituency, and so the number of persons who came out was really great, and the process was a little slow in St. David's. It all has to do with the hands-on efficiency. But what I commended the young lady about, and her registration officer as well, is that she stayed until after 1 in the morning, and she did not turn back one soul. If anyone left, they would have left on their own, and they can't wait.
But you dealt with everyone.
We dealt with everyone, and there is no other place except you working on shift that's going to go to work.
Now let me give you a couple of the problems. I heard someone from the St. George's area complaining that the registration process was lengthy. I explained to them that it was like taking a passport picture, because they didn't like the fact that they had to take off their hat, wig or whatever, that you had to get the air in a certain position, and I think that was like a lack of knowledge. What are the specific requirements? Because some people told me that it happened very speedily for them. Some people had problems. Some people had to put their hand in grease because they couldn't get their fingerprints.
And those could hardly be considered problems. There is a format for everything, and every experience that may not go smoothly, there is a correction to it. Now, the issue of the people with the headgear is a simple matter. If you go to the immigration office, you're going to see the format for taking picture. The hair must be exposed, the hairline, and it's simply the pictures are there to show. The problem is more for us than for the people, because they fight with us for everything that is normal. We ask them to just let the ears and the hairline be exposed. We're not asking people to take off their scarves or their wigs or whatever it is they wear. Some of them are religious, for religious reasons. And we're just simply asking that we're able to see the hairline. We have to be able to identify you.
So we have an international standard. So what you're faced with is not a problem, but basically ignorance and arrogance.
Yes, this is basically what it is. People refusing to pull the hair back. Pull the one person, for example.
But they don't understand why they have to do that.
Well, we are telling them, but they are resisting the information.
Because Andrew's words about ignorance and arrogance.
That's what it is.
Well, I wouldn't say that. It's just a matter of sometimes there are people who don't understand.
Ignorance
I would not refer to people as stupid.
No, but if we use it in its mildest term, using a dictionary definition, ignorance is a lack of knowledge. And not to use it in a derogatory term,
that's what he did.
It is a lack of information.
A lack of knowledge.
It's a lack of knowledge, which could be termed ignorance. I wouldn't call it that because I don't want to
upset people.
Upset people.
I have the luxury of being able to upset people, including Godfrey.
I would simply say it is a lack of information. And sometimes the people out there are not helping. People in position who could help to explain to people why certain things are, they give them wrong information. And people who depend on just the spoken word, they go away with thinking that this is correct.
But Ms. Benoit, I have heard you on numerous occasions. Literally every time you have an opportunity to be on the press, you have been specific about what is required.
Yes.
Consistently. So I really have difficulty in faulting you for this. So really, Godfrey, call it what you will, a lack of knowledge or what. It is that people, one, are not listening, or two, are bad behaved or arrogant, or three, simply don't wish to comply with the requirements.
That's what it is, and that's what we have found out. For example, one of the bits of documents required for registration is a valid passport. And people are coming and presenting expired passport. And when we explain to them, we won't be able to use this, they argue with us why I can't use it. In fact, we had a politician call in and ask why we can't use a passport that is expired. It's the same information. There is no guarantee for us that it is the same information. Name could have changed, your features could have changed, your occupation could have changed, your address could have changed. So there is no guarantee for us that the information is the same. If your passport expired yesterday, the chances are it might be similar to what it was yesterday today, but we still can't guarantee that. We may have moved in the last week. So we have to go by what the law tells us that we have to go by.
Let's address the question of your address and residencies, because it's something personally someone told me about, that in fact they got registered recently and they literally chose the constituency in which they wish to vote. And they felt that there really was no verification of residency per se.
That's what the person thinks, right? Because we register people as they come. If you come and use, if they could pick you out immediately, they would say to you, well, no, you do not live in this constituency and you will not be able to be registered here. And then they will be directed to the proper, the right constituency. If, on the other hand, the officer doesn't really know, they can't refuse to register the person. We are not in the business of disenfranchising people. So you go ahead and you register. But one of the things that people complaining about the delay is because the registration officers have to double check, especially where there is doubt.
Now, question. You know that I live in town, for instance, but I might live on the north side of a particular line, a roadway. And so, yes, I live in town, but north of roadway, north of Tempe, or east and north of Tempe is St. George Northeast, whereas to the west of it is town of St. George. I might live on the east side and decide I am voting for, or don't want to vote, I prefer to vote in X constituency.
We get a lot of that. That is where the registration officers have to always double check. So a person might come and say they live in this particular place, or they may not even know. And we have one good case in point. If you know the Mondelez area. Mondelez seem to be located in Southeast, but the majority of persons in that area, they actually belong to St. David. Mondelez Road, that's a road that takes you down to Mondelez, is the divided line, and that is in Southeast. But if you are in Mondelez, you are in St. David.
Yeah, but if you live on one side of the road or the other, you could be in St. George Southeast or St. David.
But if you're on Mondelez Road or to the southern side of it, you're in St. George Southeast. If you're on the other side, which would be the northern side more or less, you are in St. David.
Now, the St. Paul's Main Road, for instance.
That's another example.
In the Greens, if you're on the left-hand side, you're in St. George Northeast. If you're on the right-hand side,
you are in
Southeast.
In Northeast. You're in Southeast if you're on the right, and you're Northeast.
And so, if I am living on any side of the road, I could literally come and say, listen, I'm living in there, and and tell you I'm in Southeast or Northeast.
People could do it, and some people do it. And most times you get that kind of problem is not because they're trying tricks, it's because they're not sure. They live in St. Paul's, and that is it for them. But the assistants, the persons who are taking the information, they normally ask you which side of St. Paul's. Springs is another case in point. If you are on the left-hand side going into Springs, you are in Southeast. The other side is South. So they would ask you which side of Springs or where in Springs do you live. And if there is any doubt, the registration officers normally have to check the residence.
There is a full attempt at accuracy.
At accuracy. We may not get every person living where they say they live correct, because sometimes the arrow may not even find them. But the good thing about it is they cannot register two places. So even if there is doubt, you have to let the person register. But then they cannot go in the other constituency and register.
Now that you mentioned that, let's put to bed another issue that has been of some concern to many a person and apparently many a politician. The stolen equipment. Let's talk about the stolen equipment. Now, assume that I have stolen the equipment. So I can perhaps take your fingerprint, take your picture, but I can't access your database.
You can take a picture. You cannot enter it into our system. You can take a picture like anybody would have a camera and take a picture. You can use the camera. You cannot enter anything into the database.
I can make a phone ID?
You can't.
Can't make a phone ID?
No, that equipment doesn't even make ID.
The ID.
It doesn't
just
make
captures
the photo.
The data.
Yes, and the data.
So in essence, that equipment is not of any special particular use.
No, the only thing that could be done with that equipment, people can take it, set it up in their home or their office, and do regular computer stuff.
But what efforts have been made to recover the equipment?
Well, that is a question for the police. It's not me. I am not trained in that sort of stuff.
But
I've reported to the police from the minute I was informed, and the police were called in, and they did all of their investigation. They did all the things they have to do, and they are.
I have a question for you in that regard, and I've heard you say just what you've said. But I also know that when the police are conducting investigations, one of the questions they ask you, do you have any idea who might have stolen this stuff? Were you asked that question by the police?
No, I wasn't asked that specific question, but I was asked if I thought there was anybody who would want to take that stuff. And I couldn't give a definite answer.
Okay, but Dr. Mitchell attempted to help you in this regard.
But
in one of his interviews, he said that more or less, and I'm going to try and paraphrase you, Doc, that this equipment would only be of interest to political parties, and that yes, words to that effect.
Well, I didn't even hear
and that to date, nobody has questioned him, and as far as he knows, he doesn't think that the police have questioned the current government either. Do you think perhaps you should help the police with this information?
Well, I didn't hear it, so I wouldn't want to take second-hand information and go to the police or anything. If the police heard it, then I would assume, and I could only assume, that they would act on what they hear, because when you're doing an investigation, although I'm not trained in investigation, but I would assume that every little lead you get, whether it's false or otherwise, you should follow up on it. So I would assume that if they heard that, they would definitely follow up. But in terms of who should be questioned and who should not be questioned, I think when the police think they have a lead, they would question the appropriate people.
Okay, let's just take a quick break and we'll come right back.
Bob Insecticide Spray kills flying and crawling insects. Available in supermarkets and shops nationwide.
Get serious. Get Bob.
Superior one-on-one customer service. Phenomenal products customized to your individual style and need. Fast and efficient service are all attributes that have made St. Lou the leading manufacturers of windows and doors for over 30 years in St. Lucia. And we are now pleased to extend our services to you. Try our new single-hung windows, which can be tilted for easy cleaning. Our famous casement windows, which locks with keys for added security. Our gliders, projected aluminum and heavy sliding windows, sliding and commercial doors, commercial shop fronts, and more. Visit us today, building number 19 Frequente Industrial Park, St. George's, or call us at 439-6538.
Chillaxing with Glenelg Spring Water.
crafted and designed with exciting colors, giving you that unique standout look. Your most valuable fashion investment, land. Take it with you.
Owning a vehicle is a big investment. That's why care and regular maintenance is of high importance. At Hubbard's Motor Department, our experienced and qualified technicians will provide the recommended care and maintenance, ensuring your vehicle is in excellent working condition. Visit Hubbard's Motor Department in Mungay, St. George. We'll do the rest. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable pricing.
We now return to Watchdog with Godfrey.
Welcome back. Ms. Benwa, one of the issues that has also come up is the concern that many persons have registered and have not yet received their card. What's the reason for that hold-up?
Well, that is something we have been explaining again from the time it started, and that could hardly be regarded as a problem. There is
to some of those persons it is a problem to them.
Then the question would be, what specifically is the problem?
Well, they want to have the cards in their hand.
Yeah, but that is hardly a problem.
Okay. No.
You want a card, and I agree with you.
People don't
want a card. Yeah, but we have been explaining.
Okay, let me put a hypothetical situation to you. Suppose, for instance, the Parliament was reconvened, or the Prime Minister chose to prorogue Parliament, and therefore elections in more or less 3 months. Or he decides to dissolve Parliament and have elections in 21 days. Where are we? Can you have an election in 21 days, in 3 weeks' time?
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Some people will not be registered, and that is by choice, those who refuse to register.
And this is why and this in fact too is why we are having a month of awareness this month, so that people will understand what is happening, what they need to do, what their responsibilities are, what ours are. Because the important thing is, once you are registered, you can vote.
Okay.
Even if you do not have a card in your hand, you can vote. The important thing is being on the register.
What if someone doesn't have the card and you show up on election day and for some reason your name is on the list? What happens?
And your name is not on the list? And your name is on the list?
Not on the list.
Well, if your name is not on the list, you will not registered.
So let me ask you a question.
So under that process, under this present system, hold on, Andrew. Once you go in and you do what you have to do, your name, there's guaranteed that your name, because I have known in previous time under a different system that people have gone to vote. In some cases they have their card and their name is not on the list.
Godfrey, that's one of the things we're trying to correct. There are too many cards floating around that were not issued by the office. So you have your card, you come to the polling station and you say, look, I have my card, but you're not anywhere on the list. Now, I'm not saying it's because you were not registered. You could have been inadvertently left off, some error, and therefore that could be corrected.
Right, so
but there are people who were not registered who had cards.
But Ms. Benoit, you have a situation where you have people that have a card, and like we discussed earlier, go to a constituency and think they're on one side of the street and they're not there in another.
They would be directed, yes, and they would be directed where to go, because you could either be, if you show you were registered, you could either be in the one constituency or the other. Even if you do not belong to the constituency for which you show up, but you are duly registered, you will be allowed to vote in the one where you are registered.
Now, mechanically, I am registered. I don't have a card.
Right.
Okay? On election morning, should I walk with my copy of my registration papers, the documents were given to me, or can I just walk in there and say, I am Andrew Brzezinski?
You could do either.
Yeah.
If you walk in and you say, I am Andrew Brzezinski and I've been registered, and your name is on the list, you are allowed to vote.
Okay.
If Godfrey walks in shortly after you and say, I am Andrew Brzezinski and I've been registered here, and we have to allow Godfrey to vote as well. But if it turns out...
Hold on, so that's...
Let me explain. Okay. If it turns out that both people are claiming, and it's not two Andrew Brzezinski, is one person, two people claiming to be, obviously one is committing an election fraud. And after the vote, we can instruct the police to investigate these two guys because they are both claiming to be Andrew Brzezinski. The one that turns out to be the false Brzezinski could be arrested and charged for it.
And how would you pick up? Somebody picks up. How you are relying on that polling station officer to pick up those anomalies.
Well, this is why we have the ID. You can go with a passport. You should go with your voter's ID.
But
if you do not get it,
if you don't have it.
Yes, but you sign a declaration. If you sign a declaration, it's like an oath.
Okay.
So if you lie on the oath,
so if I don't have ID and I come in, I say I don't have a license, I don't have a passport, I am Andrew Brzezinski, I'm here to vote, you give me a declaration to sign.
Yes.
So I sign the declaration.
Because we have nothing to prove that you are who you say you
so
are.
now in the good old days, we used to have a party that urges supporters to vote early and often. You've cut that out? Early and often. You're cutting that out.
Well, naturally, you can't vote often. You could vote early. Early, meaning when the polls are open. Not every election. Yes, 6. But you cannot vote often. You can only vote once, and your ID number is just your ID. Once that is marked off, there is no way you can go vote again.
People have several names here, and some of them have several passports in different names. How do you pick that up or prevent that?
Now, you can only register with a Grenada passport or a Grenada birth certificate. You can register as a Commonwealth citizen once you have lived here for 1 year. But you must prove to us that you've been living here for 1 year. So you can have a British passport, for example, and you can use that to show that you have been here for the given time and that you are indeed Commonwealth. Right? But in terms of...
Which includes Barbados,
yes, a whole 54 countries. Right? But in terms of registering more than once, it can't happen. And that is one of the good things about the system. Because once you register twice, it tells us. So we know that this person had been registered already and something, could be done about
on election morning, I know previously you used the ink. Would that still be in use?
Yes, the ink will still be in use.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now, your predecessor, for instance, was much criticized as you are now being criticized. And there were a lot of aspersions cast by the current administration when it was in opposition. Now it seems that the opposition is questioning the integrity of your office. But of course, should the opposition win, then everything would be fine. It's only if you're doing that there's a problem. Huh?
I don't know that.
The current government in opposition had enough questions to ask about your predecessor. Once they won, the process was free, fair and transparent. Are we seeing a replay?
I don't know. I rarely listen to the comments unless it is the noise. Unless it is something that is pinpointing something that we really should take care of. But other than that, I don't really listen to the noise because it really is not going to help. The moment you get distracted, you could be in trouble. And that is why, for example, on the 27th, we have a forum where we invite in all stakeholders, the public, the politicians, the churches, whoever feel they have a stake. Come, question us, get the answers. If you tell me, for example, that there is a problem in the office, tell me what the problem is so that I can fix it.
Address the specifics.
That's right. Don't just tell me the office is not doing right.
How big a gathering you expect?
I am not sure. I invite all the political parties.
Which are how many?
At least about 16 of them.
16?
I wrote 16, yes.
Are they all fielding full slates? Or?
Some of them claim they are. Some of them claim they might have half. One person told me just recently that he had 2 so far, but he has the others lined up. And so I'm not sure what to expect.
At what point do they need to put money down to register these candidates?
On nomination day.
To register for the party, do they need to?
No, this is a strange thing, and this is something that the region is looking at, not just Grenada, because political parties are not actually registered. In fact, when the first person called me to register a party, one of the newer ones, I called the registry because I thought there was a process whereby you go to the registry, you pay some money, and you register your party. It turned out that that is not so. They told me it was up to me whether I, could give them the symbol, the name, etc.
Finance. Right now you need to raise revenues.
Well, I guess with 16 and more coming, you probably need to do that. But nonetheless, I called the Office of the Attorney General as well to find out what's the legal requirements, what normally happens. In addition, the Office of the Governor General, and they all said it's up to our office. So I went through all of the documents and so on, realized, well, that's the way it's done. And it is up to us to more or less do the research. So if someone already had used the symbol, the name or whatever, then we can't, even if it's dormant, we would not want to give it to them because somebody would say yes. So we do all of that research and then we allow them.
All right, we kind of out of time, but I have one final question to ask you. One of the other concerns is that of staffing at the offices. And I've heard the opposition also echoed that.
But the staffing is not up to me per se. Where there is staff, where we require staff, where there are vacancies, we are attempting to fill. But we all know that there is a freeze on hiring new staff right now. They talk about staff. When I went in there, it was the same staff.
Some people has been removed.
From where?
From some of the registration. From what I picked up.
There was one person removed, and the person was removed for breach of legal requirements.
Okay. All right.
Everybody else's staff is the same.
You've been a public servant most of your life.
Most of my life.
Are you enjoying your current posting?
I'm not enjoying it. It's okay to me. I mean, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and I'm doing it, I would assume, to the best of my ability. I go by the laws, and I listen, and I look, and I do just what I know I'm supposed to do. I'm not distracted. I'm not in any way affected by the comments. I remain focused. And I'm just putting things in place the way it should be. And I'm not
going to deliver a good election.
Well, I'm hoping to. I think, so far we are almost ready. So, I'm hoping that we will deliver.
Okay, well, we're out of time, but let me just give you 30 seconds to make any closing remarks.
Well, my main thing I would like to say, based on the trend of the discussion here especially, is to ask anybody who can pinpoint the problems that we face with to let me know them. The general statements are not helping us, neither is it helping the public. We always see sometimes, for example, we make one statement and it's taken out of context, or it is changed into something else. And the extended day, for example, turned into it is the last day for registration. So I'm just simply asking people to listen. Remember that we are working by the Representation of the People Act, and if anything is not to their satisfaction, then they can lobby for changes. But we are not doing anything that is sinister, and we just ask for cooperation.
Ms. Benoit, I've heard you on previous interviews. I want to commend you for keeping a very cool head. I want to thank you for coming to this this interview over supermarket cashiers. Judy said she'd come, and I only want to appeal to everybody out there to please listen to Ms. Benoit. Go and get registered. There is an election coming soon.
Certainly, because even if it's not this year, it's next year. So elections are coming, yes.
Thank you all very much. Of course, everybody echo the same sentiment. Those of you who are not yet registered, I'll tell you this, sometimes you say to yourself, look, I'm fed up, but I'm not going to vote. But I can guarantee you, when that bell tolls and you see the different colors, something does bite you. So get registered. I guarantee you may have a change of heart, and if you're not registered, you probably might be sorry. So registration is on. Go get registered. As Ms. Benoit said, the card is not such a big issue, but get registered. All right. Well, that's our program this week. Just to remind you, Watchdog is aired Mondays at 8 and repeated Saturdays at 8. Do join us then, and remember, the dog is watching.
Godfrey's Wardrobe, provided by Adonis Men's Store, Spiceland Mall, where you can now receive 50% off on clothing.
Watchdog came to you compliments Western Union, the fastest way to send and receive money worldwide. And furniture for Watchdog provided by Hubbard's.